Hello and welcome back to Just for Fun. I hope you enjoyed that last story. And now I'd like to read you another story. It's called Mr. Gecko's Day. Once upon a time, there lived a tan-colored gecko who lived in a Safeway parking lot on a small patch of grass near a curb. One day, he was minding his own business, eating a lonely bug, when a woman recklessly rode by on her rickety old bike, heading straight for her comfy spot. He squiggled his body backwards into his hole to get out of the way, but realized that his length was sticking too far out of his home and that he was in danger of having it run over by this reckless woman on the bike. He picked up a blade of grass and wrapped it snugly around his tail, securing it with a knot, and then weaving it into a small side pouch. And when he was finished, he slung it over his back like a backpack. Distracting him, while he was busy, an energetic fly buzzed clockwise and then counterclockwise over his head. Mr. Gecko followed it with his golf ball eyes, and then it skeeted, skimming his head several times before it attempted to land on his lizard's forehead. Mr. Gecko's slender body leaned to and fro, again and again, trying to snag himself a fly meal. He stretched this way and swung around and stretched that way. Mr. Gecko was trying to snap his jaws at it. And suddenly, sprite, and sprang, and his wrapped grass came unwrapped, and his snake-like tail unexpectedly unleashed. Snap, twang, bang, roing, spank, swacking the unsuspected fly. The injured zuzzer did a sudden nosedive, twirled 3 times in a downward spiral, and landed with the last fly spleet next to him. The fly turned its tiny head and it looked at Mr. Gecko as if to say, "How did that happen?" And he let out a defeated "Ooze," and a teeny tiny fly tear rolled down his fuzzy fly cheek. And there he lay still, his head now permanently looking to the left, with one antenna sticking straight up. Thankful for this unexpected snapper snack, Mr. Gecko gobbled it up as if it were the last crumb of food on the planet. He was licking his thin lizardly lips when he noticed the same woman on the warbly bike warbling straight for him. He nervously grabbed his tail. He slowly but carefully stepped backwards, step by backward step, inch by reversing inch, escaping toward his hole, as close to the curb as he could nudge himself with only his head peeking out. Mr. Gecko watched her zagging into the road and then zigging back on the grass with no apparent direction. And then things took a turn for the worse. The bike zig-hopped uncontrollably onto the curb, and before you could say, "Give me some more ice cream," that clunkorama lady's bike front tire came loose from its frame and was barreling straight forward towards him. It happened so fast that Mr. Gecko had 0 time to move out of the way. It was too late. He let out a lizard scream. The weight of the tire steamrolled over his entire reptilian physique, causing him severe flattening of his entire torso. All the air in his body was released through his thin lips, but no one heard him. His body lay there as if he was an airless blow-up pool toy, limp and flat. He had attempted to pry one golf ball eye open with his lizardly eyeball muscle strength. All he could get was one eye to pop open, but the other eye was sealed shut with mud and grass. He tried to muster up his lizardly force to take a step, but all he could do was stretch out his newly formed capital M-shaped finger and look one way, permanently, sideways to the right. Out of the corner of his good eye, he saw the woman and her bike, thunk, 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 crashing into the Safeway sign. Countless belongings flew into the air and were strewn every which way. Her purse had everything a man could ever imagine in it, and each of these 35 items soared into the air, coming down like raining soccer balls. The lady got up, dusted herself off, and picked up her busted bike. She recovered her loose tire from the road and rubbed her bruised knee. She threw the pink scarf she was wearing around her neck and let out a hi-ya. The pink scarf floated in the air in the wind for a few seconds. And then it wafted in the breeze over to the flattened Mr. Gecko like a magic carpet. It settled down to rest on his head like a soggy blindfold bonnet. The only thing in that flat Lizzie's slit of an eyeball view was the color pink. He squinted and could scarcely make out the tip of a muddy blade of grass that stuck straight out of his nostril. He sneezed and the grass came flying out of his nose, causing the scarf to slightly rise. At that exact moment, a gust of wind came and blew the scarf up and down repeatedly. Flappa, lappa, flappa, lappa, flappa, lappa. The scarf rose and fell, pink, not pink, pink, not pink, pink, not pink, pink, not pink. And it got flappered in his place like a soggy wonton wrapper for over 1 lizardly minute. He could hear the bike squeak, 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 ka-thump, squeak, 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 ka-thump, thankfully getting farther and farther away. Then suddenly, whoosh, a big gust of wind blew and the pink thing was miraculously gone off his recently flattened body as it started to rain. He could see a shopping cart in the distance and decided to make a break for it before the rain got too bad. But it started pouring. He was making progress, plodding along, but his flattened belly was scraping on the pavement as he moved. And he used his capital M finger to hook the pavement and hook, drag, pull, heave, ho, hook, drag, pull, heave, ho. Himself along the road toward the shopping cart. It was taking him forever to gain any ground. He was dodging humans to the left and to the right. A man's tennis shoe narrowly missed squashing his already pancaked body. Mr. Gecko accidentally hook, drag, zigged when he should have hook, drag, zagged. And unluckily, the man's tennis shoe came down with force and squashed his reptilian already pancaked back left foot, permanently reshaping it into a backwards number 3. He yelled a lizard scream, "Eep!" and then another, "Eep!" but no one heard him. He was determined and continued his journey through his pain. to the shopping cart. Limp, limp, bump. Hook, drag, heave, ho, scrape. Hook, limp, limp, bump. Hook, drag, heave, ho, scrape, limp. Drip, drip, drizzle. The rain now poured in buckets. At last, Mr. Gecko arrived at his destination, the glorious shopping cart. With his backward number 3 shaped left foot and his capital M shaped right hand, he used all his lizardly strength and hoisted his body up onto the bottom rack of the shopping cart. Mr. Gecko clung on as tight as he could to one of the bars. The rain blew in sideways now. And he was soaking wet all the way from his thin lizardly lips to his flattened paper-thin tail. But he managed to climb up on the rack successfully and finally get comfortable. His head laid down on the cart bar to catch his breath. Finally, safe. Drip, drip, drip. Heap. He could feel the plunkety plunk of the rain on his neck and back. The dripping rain water was absorbing into his scaly reptile skin like a sponge, and his skin began to soften, and his flatitudinous began to swell, puffing up like rising pizza dough. With each drop of the rain, his dry, shriveled, see-through skin expanded like a balloon being blown up, and then, like magic, the rainwater had inflated his flatness. He was back to his old shape again, his rightly lizardly shape of flabby grandma skin muscle. He shook like a dog after a bath. That feels great! Finally! He exclaimed, and his golf ball eyelid popped open suddenly. He stretched out his WW wrestler farm muscles and did 10 push-ups just to show off. Suddenly, he felt himself losing his grip and sliding backwards. He had to tighten his capital M finger and his backward 3-shaped leg to grip on the bar. The cart was moving.
Oh no!
He wrapped his tail around the bar like a snake on the tree and held as tight as he could. The cart rolled along the bumpy pavement, which felt like to him like being the only roasted peanut being shaken in an empty jar. Clank, 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 clank. He clung on for dear life, hugging the bar of the cart like it was his mommy. Clank, 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 clank. Drip, drip, drips on his head, and 3 race car hairpin turns. The corners by an unknown shopping cart driver, and one big ka-flunk, ka-flunk-a-bong. And he was through the front Safeway doors and headed down the refrigerated milk aisle. The cart had stops and starts and stops and starts, so he held on for dear life. And then relax, hold on, as that squeaky wheeled cart clunkled down the aisles. It tipped and warbled around the store, led by the unknown driver. He could feel the chill of cheese section on his rain-soaked body. And then a hard lean to the left, and another hairpin turned around the corner into the bakery aisle. The smell of fresh bread baking wafted by his nostrils. He was looking back at a donut when the cart came to a sudden stop. Rolled over a small lake of Tabasco sauce with a slight lump on his forehead and his entire body covered in the icy, spicy Tabasco sauce. He crawled back up to his lookout spot. His tongue was now on fire, and his eyes were burning, and the cart jerked and tugged onward. Relax, hold on, relax, mouth on fire, hold on. He was scraping his tongue on the roof of his teeth, his front teeth, trying to get the Tabasco sauce off. He used his lizardly gymnastics abilities to form a rainbow-shaped backbend. This caused him severe upside-downness. His flabby grandma muscles slipped and he flipped, sprang, going over with the slinky on the stairs thrust. Luckily, in the nick of time, he outstretched his capital M hand, kicking, just in time to grab the cart before it rolled on. Just then, a large package of paper towels was thrown carelessly into the cart, landing with a McFither, skeet, 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 and his tail took on the full load of the weight, causing it to detach and fall off, squiggling to the store floor. Along with his dignity, the cart rolled onward. Mr. Gecko got a last glimpse of his spicy, squiggling tail flopping like a fish on the deck as they entered the canned goods section. He was clinging to the bar like it was his favorite grandmother as it sped around another hairpin turn into the freezer section, and then it stopped. He squinted with his golf ball eyelids and thought he saw an old lizard friend that he'd recognized who was stuck in the cased glass in one of the freezer cabinets. His friend was desperately trying to yell something to him urgently. However, his lizardly tongue was frozen to the glass, and the look on his friend's face was like, "Help me!" He had his own pressing problems, and he showed him the stump where his tail had been and his spicy, watery eyes. Suddenly, a tub of ice cream landed on his stomach and froze it into place for the journey around the next 2 aisles. His lizardly middle section began to turn frosty cold, and as the cart traveled, 2 more race car hairpin turns by the unknown cart driver as he felt his ride screech to a stop, and the frozen tub of ice cream rolled off his stomach. Hey, he was talking to himself. This could be my chance to escape. I could jump off and run away like wildfire was chasing me, and I could hide in some cans and boxes, and I could lay low until the coast is clear, and then I could make my way back home. Yes, he thought to himself, I can do this. I can do this. He scoped his surroundings and reptiliously stretched out his tail stump as far as it lizardly could stretch. He reached his head around the ice cream tub. He spied a spot under the shoyu and the hot mustard shelf where it looked like a dark, safe place where it was dry. With a lizardly grunt, "Yeep!" and a force-filled leap of mighty lizardly determination, he catapulted himself and cannonballed high into the air. Light shone through his see-through skinned body as he careened himself off the cart. He flew in a spiral shape whoosh, whoosh, hitting the tile floor with a ka-tong. He log rolled 10 times, whoosh, 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 and then slid like a hockey puck on the ice. He clawed the ground with his toenails, desperately trying to screech to a stop before hitting the shelf. Exercising his short, bent thruster leggers, he speed ran as fast as his reptilious legs could legger. He hid behind a bottle of teriyaki sauce and stayed absolutely still. All was quiet. He had escaped. He poked his head out cautiously while he watched a lady with a full cart, including 2 kids, roll past his secret hiding space. And he heard, "Hey, Mom, look over here. There's a gecko behind that bottle." Their cart approached Mr. Gecko's spot, and 2 giant kid faces peered in at his poor excuse for a hiding spot. And then before you could say, "The pen is blue," one of the kids grabbed him by his capital M hand and was waving him in the air like a single slice of bologna. On one of the bologna waving swishy swashy swings, Mr. Gecko was accidentally tossed into the air into the cart like a tomato flung off of Toshi's sandwich. He slid down into some metal trees and plain out of sight. He heard the kids talking. "Hey, where'd that critter go?" And some items were getting shifted around the cart, and one kid shook the lettuce. Unfortunately, when shaken, he plopped out like the last raisin in the box and onto a package of piping hot chicken. He let out a lizardly scream. And with tender, hot feet, he hot, cold, tippy toenails scratched ran across the scorching container. Ouch, 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 ouch. His left foot slid out from under him and slipped through a crack between the butter and the applesauce. And he landed on the store floor, safely upright in the center of the aisle with all 4 legs on the floor. For 3 seconds. Just then, he was hoof-booted by a store clerk, landing on an 80-year-old woman's shoe, who was shuffling along, dragging her orthopedic shoes as she walked. Mr. Gecko clung on while she shuffled. There on her shoe, he lay like the soggy wonton wrapper that he was. He was shuffed for what seemed like an eternity. He recognized the bakery, the milk aisle, and the banana bunches. This was his shuff second lap around the store. Again, he came by the freezer door. He could see his friend looking at him from inside the glass, almost frozen now. He had frost on his lizard eyebrows, and his tongue was frozen to the glass. Mr. Gecko reached out to wave. The freezer door suddenly opened, and a breeze of Arctic air froze his lizardly eyelashes. He lost his grip and fell to the store floor. Nearby customer cart ran over him, and he was glued stuck to the tire like a piece of old chewing gum. And every time the cart would rolling pin over him, he let out a lizardly scream. Roll, squash. Roll, squash. Somebody eat! Help! Roll, squash. Roll, squash. Until the cart finally slowed and then stopped near the cleaning supplies aisle. Mr. Gecko managed to scrape and unpeeled his ex-WWW wrestling body off the tire and was limping his way towards the Windex. Limp, 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 scrape, scrape, limp, 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 limp. There he sat for a while. He was exhausted and he laid his head down on a Windex squirter and fell asleep from sheer exhaustion. He suddenly woke up, startled. Human fingers were squeezed, clamping him from the back of his neck. His face skin was being stretched to his limit so tight, like a too tight ponytail. With the tightest of face skin, his entire body rose up. And the next thing he knew, he was flying like a punted football. End over end, he flew over the paper towels. Whoa! Soap. Whoa! Shampoo. Whoa! Cartwheeling free flight in midair over the cereal. Whoa! Over the chips. Past the crackers. Whoa! Then he splat landed like a soap paper towel. Right near the store entrance. He could see the entrance doorway with what appeared to be sunlight shining through. His only thought was just a few more steps and I can go home again. And then he heard a shove, shove, shove. He let out a lizardly, oh no! He started running for the sunlit door. Drag, drag, limp, shove, shove, shove was getting louder. He ran with every lizardly speck of strength he could muster up. He managed to run out of the doorway, past the sidewalk, and finally reached the parking lot. He spied his grassy curb where his home lay waiting for him to return. He was making his way to his dirt home when the toddler girl in a pink princess dress, who smelled like peanut butter, bent over him and poked him with her peanut buttery finger. And before he could escape, she quickly grabbed and pinched his sides. She was holding him up, peanut buttery, squeezing him a little too tightly around his waist. Mr. Gecko was wriggling, legs running in the air. Worst of all, now he smelled like peanut butter too, with a hint of Tabasco. Look what I found, Mama! A creature to play with, Princess exclaimed. That's a gecko, dear. Can she ride in the cart with us while we shop? Oh, please, no. Mama, please, can she? Please. All right, honey. Just make sure she doesn't get out of your hand and roll under the shelves, okay? Okay, Mommy, I'll hold it tight. And she peanut buttery squeezed. They entered the store and headed straight for the milk aisle. What do you think her name should be? What? Do you think you could make her a dress to wear? Maybe a little dress? The end. Stay tuned for Mr. Gecko's ride to Lihue on the windshield.